Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to What If Deku's mentor was K.infinite? Yes, you might be wondering, didn't you make a what if like this, where he met K.infinite? Is this just gonna be the same? Is this a reboot? To answer those questions, technically, this is our redo. I'm redoing the what if. The story ain't gonna be the same like the old one. It's because I feel like I could do better from the other one. But not only that, I also felt like I can make the story unique and actually do more interesting ideas, which I can't do in other what ifs, except for some god ones. But I kind of want to do it with this one because it's gonna be more fun for me, and I think it's gonna be fun for you guys. And also, real quick, make sure you stick to the end of this what if, because this what if has something interesting that I think most of you will find intriguing. Not only that, that's practically all I have to say, and let's get into the story.
Real quick before we actually get into the story for real, if my voice sounds different throughout this whole video, during this point I am a little bit sick, just a little. So yeah, if if I sound weird, throughout this video, that's the reason why. So let's actually get into the story for real. So where our story begins, we begin with Izuku Midoriya. He has been bullied for a long time of his life, but he figured out something, unlike our, canon Izuku didn't figure out. He figured out, you know what? It's better if he got a little bit buffer. Like, just, did some things to be somewhat of a hero. So, when he found about Dagobah Beach, he has actually been cleaning up the beach for almost every single day, so long as, he had time. So, Izuku practically has been cleaning that until he comes across a door there that wasn't there before, but he figured out, hey, probably it's like, something that he found randomly, from cleaning the beach. But here's the weird thing. When he removes the piece of trash that was over the door opens, and Izuku looks inside, seeing that in the door, that it's like a lot bigger in the inside than, outside of the door. So he kind of doesn't want to go in there at first, but his curiosity and him just wanting to know what's in there and why is it so big on the inside but on the outside it's so small overwhelms him, and he goes in to figure out what's in there and what's going on, until the door behind him slams shut and Izuku turns around and he sees the door slowly disappearing. And Izuku's a little bit afraid from this, so he turns back in front of him, and he, in his head at this time, and from a little bit of fear, he puts together that it's better if he runs forward and tries to find a way out that way, since he can't go the other way. So he's running forward until he runs into somebody wearing white and black armor, making Izuku fall on his back. And the person turns around saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, kid. I didn't, whoops, I should have, oh my gosh." And he's like kind of nervous, like both of them are, until this person says, "Oh, let me help you up, kid." And he helps Izuku up. Izuku takes his hand and, stands up again. And the person responds with, "Oh, how rude of me. I should introduce myself. I am K.infinite." And he pulls out his hand so Deku can shake it. And Deku says, "No problem." And he introduces himself as well. And he says, "My name is Izuku Midoriya." And pulls out his hand as well. And they both grab each other's hands and start shaking each other's hand, like, a handshake. And so he asks the kid, K.infinite asks, "So kid, what are you doing here?" And Izuku says, "Well, I went through a door," and K.infinite's like, "Oh, okay, now I get what you mean." And Deku's like, "So you understand the door?" And K.infinite's like, yeah, the door will be back soon. Until then, do you want to talk for a little bit? And Azuku's like, yeah, sure. Like, kind of a little bit nervous, but, hey, at least talking to somebody, it's better than talking to nobody and being here by yourself. So, Azuku they have been talking for a while, asking each other questions about themselves, until K.infinite asks this. So, kid, what do you want to do with your life? And Azuku responds with, well, I want to be a hero that saves people with a smile, like All Might. And K.infinite's like, All Might? Huh, so you want to be like his mentor and him that wanted to save people with a smile. And Azuku's confused. He's like, mentor? I didn't know All Might had a mentor. What do you mean, K.infinite? And K.infinite tells Deku, well, Azuku, I have been around for a very long time. Don't I look familiar to you? And Azuku's like, wait, you look like that guy from the history books, but they said he was dead. And K.infinite's like, nah, I'm not dead. Dang idiots. I just left for a long while. So none of them even went to my house or even read the note on my door. Whatever. So Azuka's like, so wait, really? And K.infinite's like, yeah. And so Deku wants more proof, and K.infinite shows him more proof, even pictures of a young version of All Might, and much more. And Azuku's like, no way! So you are telling the truth. And K.infinite's like, yeah, kid, I'm pretty old, but I can still kick people's butt, And technically, I still have my hero license. And so, wait. Like, Deku's like, so wait? You're still a hero? And K.infinite's like, yeah, you can say something like that. But, kid, you remind me of myself. And Azuku's like, I do? And K.infinite's like, yeah, you're a person who always asks questions. Like me, but also has moments where you just talk out loud. And Azuku kind of blushes a little bit of embarrassment. And he's like, I didn't know that. And K.infinite's like, it's alright, kid. But you know what? Why not I train you? And Azuku's in shock. He's like, train me? And like, kind of nervous. And K.infinite's like, yeah, train you, Since you want to be a hero, I think you can. And Azuku's a little bit nervous because he wants to tell him, but he doesn't know if K.infinite's going to say no because, he has no power. So Deku, outright blatants and says, I don't have a quirk. And K.infinite's like, you silly. I know you don't have one. And Azuku's like, wait, what? And K.infinite responds with, yes, Azuku, I can sense when people have powers. You don't have any, but hey, you could still be a good hero. And Azuku's shocked about this until K.infinite explains how. He tells Azuku practically he can become like Iron Man, Batman, or use support gear as like a quirk, or just practically have multiple ways to be a hero. And Azuku's shocked about this because he never thought about it this way before. So he accepts K.infinite's training because K.infinite also explained that it would still be a benefit for him to get physically, in shape, because a lot of heroes have to physically move around all the time, and it would be better if he's already in shape for this, so he doesn't always run out of breath or much more. So the door finally shows up, and K.infinite tells Azuku, if you ever want to return again, just go through the door, and I'll train you as long as you want until you can get into UA. And if you want more, if you return, I will also give you something to help you become a hero. So Azuku leaves and, takes him up on that offer. So the next day, when he heads back to Dagobah Beach, because, he's on the weekend, so he has nobody to stop him, he heads back to Dagobah Beach. And at that moment, he sees K.infinite on the beach and just standing there, kind of enjoying the sun setting, like kind of like rising or setting. I don't know. Like Izuku got there pretty like early, and for K.infinite, his perspective of time is way different. So he doesn't know if it's morning or day. So Izuku walks up to him and touches K.infinite on like the shoulder. Says, what are you doing?" And K.infinite turns around. He's like, "Oh, Izuku, I was waiting for you." And Izuku was like, "Were you here all night?" And K.infinite's like, "What do you mean night?" And Deku's like, "You were here at night when there was no sun out." And K.infinite's like, "Oh, so that's why there was a lot of stars out." And Deku's like, "How are you still awake?" And K.infinite looks at him and says, "Well, kid, I don't get tired that easily. I only sleep when I want to." And Izuku's like, "Oh," kind of confused. So, this is what happens. Izuku, is like, "So are we going to start now?" And K.infinite's like, "Oh yeah, let's go do that." And so they go through the door and head to K.infinite's training room, which K.infinite is taking Deku. When they get there, Deku's like, "Whoa, so this is where we're training?" And K.infinite's like, "Yeah, kid. Believe me, you're gonna feel like hell for a few days." And Izuku's like, "What?" "Yeah, but first I need to give you this." And Izuku is like, "Give me what?" And K.infinite puts an arm on his shoulder and says, "Relax, this is gonna hurt just for a second." And Izuku's like, "Okay." K.infinite puts his hand on his chest, and Izuku's like, "This is kind of weird," and then feels an insta pump in like his chest, and he's like, "Oh, what was that?" And K.infinite's like, "Don't worry, you'll feel better soon." And Izuku's like, starting to feel better. And he realizes that he saw some strings connecting to both of them, and it slowly faded away. Izuku asks what that was, and K.infinite responds with, "Well, we're finally, you finally got the powers I promised. And I was going to give you them, but I didn't want to tell you first. I should have did that, but oh well. Izuku, I gave you my powers to help you. I feel like I should. And I want to see your goal succeeded. I'm already too old, technically speaking, to do this anymore. Maybe, but I felt like someone else should take my spot as a hero, you know? So, anyone else, I would have thought it would be you, since we both have something similar in our lives." And Izuku isn't shocked and is actually pretty thankful. But K.infinite also explains this, and he tells Deku practically they're going to be training for a long while, every day until it's time for him to get to UA. He's told him that we're going to train your power, we're going to also train your body, and we're going to train everything so you can get used to it. And Izuku's pretty happy because he didn't know, like, he got this dude to willingly want him to become a hero and want to, follow his goals. So Izuku accepts this, and they start training for a while. Like a whole 1 month passes, and at this point, Izuku and K.infinite have got to mentor in student. And he tells Izuku, "So Izuku," and Izuku's like, "Yeah." K.infinite responds with, "I have something else to tell you. You're slowly unlocking something that is going to benefit you a lot. And technically, you could use it as your hero costume if you want." And Izuku's like, "What is it?" And K.infinite explains that it's a suit that came from this power of mine, and now it's going to come from the one I gave to you. And Izuku's like, "Oh, so is it like yours?" And K.infinite says, "Yes, but a different version. I had multiple," he explains, that he had 3 versions of the suit, just in case of very dangerous situations. Technically, you're gonna, and this is what he says to Deku, you're gonna start with the first version of the suit. And Izuku's pretty happy about this. So, K.infinite also explains how, at this point, how his power really works. And he tells Deku how it's like freaking Naruto with chakra, but the difference is when you can't run out of it and it doesn't directly come from chakra. This power comes from others, yes, but it doesn't drain their souls to, power him. And it doesn't drain his soul. It just that's where it comes from practically. So Izuku gets it because, he watched Naruto to understand, because it's like chakra, but you don't have to do any of the hands, symbols, or it doesn't drain your life energy. That's the difference. So one day through this, K.infinite has been training Deku at this point how to, dodge faster than he normally could, because, there's going to probably be villains faster that could even be faster than Ida or, whoever, of almost the speed of light. So he's training Deku to dodge those type of people. And Asuku is actually very tired at this point, and he's wondering why does he get so tired, like very quickly at first, but then it slowly starts getting longer for him to get tired from this. And K.infinite explains that it's because of stamina, and he explains that, like himself, he has infinite stamina, so he doesn't run out, he doesn't get tired as quick at all. He barely gets tired at all. The only ways he gets tired if he's fighting himself or fighting his brother. And Izuku's taken aback by this, and he's wondering, wait, you have a brother? And K.infinite's like, yeah, I have a brother, it's just he's not here right now. He's in a different country. And Izuku's like, oh, kind of interested, like curious and everything. But K.infinite also explains, since you don't have infinite stamina right now, you only have some of my abilities, you're gonna get tired much easier because most of my powers cost a lot of stamina to use, but not all of them. And Izuku gets it. It's like a stamina drainer practically. So K.infinite explains this like very well to Izuku. So, and he did also say this. He said, Izuku, at some point you will get infinite stamina like me, but then something else will start bothering you. And Izuku is intrigued. But K.infinite's like, don't ask anymore, because it's better if you figure it out on your own. I'm only helping you with stamina because I've clearly found that annoying. And Izuku understands. So, we kind of skip past 2 more months. And this is like after 1 month before they are about to do the UA and like the canon stuff happens. So, this is what happens. So, during this day, Izuku has been training so hard, and this time he's actually fighting K.infinite in 1v1 fight. During the fight, a piece of the suit that K.infinite said he was going to get showed, like almost the whole suit instantly showed up. And like right when K.infinite was about to punch him in the face, the suit showed up and like expanded the blow. And it didn't hurt Deku as much, but it still sent Deku flying. And Izuku got up and he was like, wait, what is this? And K.infinite's like, huh, you finally did it. I'm a little bit jealous. You kind of did it faster than me. And Deku's like, what? And he's like, Izuku, remember when I was telling you about the suit? And Deku's like, oh yeah, right, Sensei. And K.infinite's like, huh, you silly. But oh well. That's not only what the suit comes with, as well, Izuku. And Izuku's like, what do you mean? And he looks at his sides and he sees 2 unique weapons. And Izuku's like, what are these? And he explains that they're weapons that come with that version of the suit. They have to, because, they also allow him to use different power sets that cannot be used normally, because if they are, it's gonna hurt. And Izuku understands this, and he accepts it. So K.infinite also now has to train him how to use gun. So after that, we get to the past the month, and we get to the part where they're applying for where they want to go for high school or whatever. So Deku's sitting in his desk at this point, and Bakugo's there. Everyone's there in canon, and they're just chilling until the teacher shows up, and he says it's time for you guys to do like kind of work sign up stuff. But then he's like stops for a minute and goes like, you know what, and throws his papers in the air and says, we all know you all want to be heroes. And everybody in the class cheers, and their quirks, they activate their quirks. But the only people who don't, since one of them technically don't have one and the other one is a cocky little bastard, is Bakugo and Izuku. They both are the only people who don't react that way. They're still chilling. And the teacher's like, so we have two people who want to go to UA. Is Bakugo, and Bakugo's like, don't let me up with these losers, blah blah blah, like what he says in canon. And he's like, yeah, because I'm the best, and I'm gonna get into UA. But then he also says, and also he goes like, huh, also you too, Izuku, you want to also go to UA? Izuku was a little bit embarrassed about this because the teacher just threw him on the spot right there. And Izuku has nothing to say about this. He practically doesn't really care. But there's the difference here. Nobody actually laughs at Izuku. Like, they don't laugh out loud because they look at Izuku and he's pretty ripped. He looks like he can kick people's ass. And he has fought Bakugo before. Not like to actually hurt Bakugo, but to stop him from bullying others. And he has actually won at least once, and that really made Bakugo angry with Izuku. But everyone still thinks he's not going to get in. Until Bakugo gets up and explodes Deku's desk. Deku falls backwards, and he's like, Bakugo, what are you doing? And Bakugo's like, you damn nerd, you're not going to be able to apply to UA. If you even try to, you're going to die in the exams. And Deku's like, gets up and looks at Bakugo in the face, and they both look at each other, and Izuku's like, so what? Does it matter? I'm gonna still apply to UA even if you want me to or not. And that pisses off Bakugo, and Bakugo like charging up into an explosion to blow up Deku, until Deku grabs Bakugo in the hand right during the explosion, and the arm pieces of the suit shows up in the mid grab and explode. And when the explosion was starting to fade away, Deku's suit disappears, and it's just Deku's hand holding on to Bakugo's at that moment. No homo. And he just starts squeezing the hand, and it starts hurting Bakugo. He's like, ah! And like, he squeezes and makes Bakugo kneel, and he says, are you done, done, Bakugo? And Bakugo's like, you... Deku! Getting mad, but he can't do anything because he's in direct pain. And Deku says this, Bakugo, I am done. I am done with you. I have tried so many times to hope. I even hoped, and I tried to change you. I tried to make you for the better, but at this point, I can't even see you changing. You're too much of a snarky-headed bastard. And he says that to Bakugo. And Bakugo's in shock because Deku cursed, and Deku usually never curses at all. And he's like, Deku! And Deku lets go, and he tells, you leave me alone, Bakugo. Only come back to me if you're really trying to change this time. And he looks away at Bakugo and grabs his things. And funny thing is, that's when the bell rung at that moment. And Deku leaves, and he's like, is that it? And the teacher did try to stop him and say, hey, Izuku, go to, the principal's office. But right when he's about to say that, Deku looks at him with so much intimidation that the teacher practically shuts up and can't say anything. Because he's actually afraid of a student, and he's shocked about this. That Izuku has this way to make someone afraid. And even Bakugo is in shock. Everyone in the class is in shock because Deku went like this. And he's like, I'm done. I'm gonna head home, and either way, school is over. So Deku leaves. He goes underneath a bridge, and in his mind at this moment, he wants to head to K.Infinite or his mom and like just hang out. Because besides K.Infinite being Izuku's, mentor, he is also Izuku's like friend. He sees Izuku as a friend, but Izuku kind of sees him like a real person that cares about him, and he's one of the only other people to actually believe that he can become a hero even if he didn't have his powers. And Izuku's happy about this until when he goes underneath the bridge, a sludge villain shows up and tries to steal Deku's body. Right in the moment the suit comes on and the sludge villain is stuck. He can't get inside Deku's suit until Izuku hears, because the reason also, second reason why he's not fighting the sludge villain is because yes, the sludge villain attacked him, but he knows the suit can handle it, and he can't technically fight back because it's because it's illegal to use your quirk, and people would give the excuse that Deku technically has a quirk now, and that's why. So All Might shows up and says his famous lines, "I am here," punching the sludge villain. And he does send Deku flying, and Deku gets stuck in the concrete wall, but the suit detracts, and All Might only sees the headpiece of the suit. And he's like, that headpiece looks so familiar to me. And Izuku gets up, is about to get up, and All Might picks up the sludge villain fast, put him in a bottle, and also he did this. He also wrote in Deku's notebook because his notebook went flying when All Might did his punch. So yeah, and Izuku's like, "Wait, you're All Might," and he grabs his note, like he's trying to look for his notebook. Till All Might hands it to him, and he goes like, "I know, kid, you wanted my autograph." And Izuku was happy about that, and he looks in there just to make sure if All Might, even though he's All Might, he wants to see it for himself, and he's in shock that All Might signed it that quickly. And at that moment, All Might is about to jump away until Izuku was about to ask him something. All Might just is about to jump, and Izuku grabs his leg. During the jump, All Might notices Deku's there, and he thinks, you know what, it's better if we talk when we're on the ground. So they land on the ground, but not on the street ground. They land on a building's rooftop. So when they land, All Might lets Deku off his leg, and Deku gets off and turns around towards All Might. All Might is trying to still maintain his buff form, but is slowly failing. And Izuku, what happens here, asks All Might the same question that he does in canon. Can he be a hero without a quirk? The reason why, he just wants to know. Even though now, he has K.Infinite's power, even if it's a small piece, he still wants to know if he could just still be a hero in All Might's eyes without a quirk, because he's curious. All Might still says no, because he explains how it's more dangerous, but he also asks, why are you asking that since you have a quirk? And Izuku's like, what do you mean? And All Might says, the suit, the helmet from a suit thing you were wearing when I showed up. And Izuku explains that that's not really a quirk, it's more like a suit that he can wear, but it's not a quirk, it's from somebody. And All Might's like, oh, but still, even if you could use that suit, I don't think a lot of people would see it that way. And also, either way, without the suit, you wouldn't be able to be still a hero, because there probably could be villains that could break that suit and you could die. Because All Might is still worried, so he tells Deku that either to become a police, officer, or a fighter, at least since he wants to be a hero that bad. But Izuku is kind of disappointed that the symbol piece doesn't believe in him and doesn't think how K.Infinite did, where he could be a hero like Iron Man. Yeah, he understands that, yeah, if someone was strong enough, he could break the suit. But K.Infinite also explained that, hey, why not have multiple ways to avoid that situation. So if it happens, you can always defend yourself. And also, he's kind of disappointed because All Might told him to just become a firefighter or, a police officer. Doesn't even try to tell him, hey, why not be a support hero? So All Might leaves, and Izuku is just standing there, kind of disappointed. But after a while, he heads home, or K.infinite or home, either one. And at that moment, he hears a commotion, and he walks towards it, and he sees the same villain. Deku's kind of in shock that it was his fault that the sludge villain escaped. And what happens next is a mind blower. So when he sees Izuku, he's like, dang, that kid's here again too. He doesn't say that out loud, the sludge villain. But Izuku sees that the sludge villain has Bakugo, and Izuku runs out there, forgetting that he has a suit that can help him and protect him at this point. So Izuku runs out there, and he grabs pieces of concrete very quickly in mid-run and throws it at the sludge villain's eyes, blinding him. And the sludge villain's like, oh, my eyes! And Izuku runs across, and at the moment, he throws some more pieces of concrete in the sludge villain's eye because he was about to be unstunned when Deku was clawing and trying to get, Bakugo out of the sludge villain. And he does it again, and it's like, oh, gosh dang kid, my eyes. And he's about to hit Deku with an explosion at that moment until when All Might is like, All Might's there, but when All Might's during mid-jump to try to save Izuku, and, everyone's like, even the pro heroes are like, this thing's gonna kill him. And everyone sees it. Sees All Might halfway there, stopped, and sees the sludge villain defeated in an insta-punch, and sees all around them that the area is starting to snow. And Izuku sees him. He's like, Sensei? And K.infinite's like, oh, Izuku, I was looking for you. Where were you, kid? And All Might's like, wait, he looks familiar, Because it's been a long time since he's seen this guy. He hasn't remembered him. And the pro hero is like, who is this? Is this a new hero? And K.infinite's like, so Izuku, what happened? And Izuku explains, and K.infinite's like, oh my gosh, are you alright? Did this thing hurt you? He looks at the sludge villain, and he quickly picks it up, and it didn't even look like he moved at all, by the way, when he did it. But now all of a sudden he has a bottle, and he's like, there you go, I captured him, Izuku, but let's go. And K.infinite turns around and sees All Might, and he's like, huh, All Might, what are you doing here? And All Might's like, you look familiar. Can you please remind me who you are? And K.infinite's like, it's me, K.infinite. Remember I used to train with you and I used to help you train and stuff with your mentor. And All Might's like, wait, it's you? K.infinite? And K.infinite's like, yeah, it's me. So how you been doing? And K.infinite's like, All Might's like, yeah, I've been good. And K.infinite's like, well, I need to take my student. Is that alright? And besides, I will punish him for doing something like this anyway. And everyone's just in shock because everyone remembers him in history because they had him written down at a time when everyone was going rampant with quirks, and he's been around for that long. And everyone thought he finally died, but no, he was still around. And he was one of the people who became a hero. Licensed full-on hero. So, what happens is this. The pros are like, wait, we gotta punish the kid at least. He went out there by himself. And K.infinite's like, no, I got it anyway, it's fine. All Might, is it alright if you let us go through? And All Might is like, yeah, sure, you can go. And because All Might's cool with K.infinite. But K.infinite looks back at All Might and he says, and also, All Might, come to Dagobah Beach later. I know what you said to Izuku, and I'm kind of disappointed in you. And All Might's like, kind of saddened that K.infinite was disappointed in him, but he doesn't know why. But all he knows, he did something to disappoint him. So after that, Deku and K.infinite escape. But before they do, K.infinite's like, also check on the kid, make sure he has an ambulance, make sure he has a good checkup. And they do. There's an ambulance there, and they check on it, Bakugo. And K.infinite, like, they were gonna check on Izuku, but K.infinite's like, nah, he's fine, he's good. I am making sure of that. And besides, he's alright, nothing broken. And everyone's alright. But that was caught on the news, which some people saw it. Even All For One saw it, and he's like, he's back? That's gonna hinder my plans. And even Ingo saw this, and he's like, I know who that is. He's someone who met my father, you know? Kind of saying that in her head, but she now knows what she needs to tell Izuku. And this is the case. So, when K.infinite and Izuku gets to Dagobah Beach, All Might is there because he figured out a way to get around the reporters, and K.infinite walks up to All Might and says, you can debuff. I know you have One for All, and I know for a fact Nana Shimura didn't tell you I know. And All Might's stunned by this because he didn't know that K.infinite knew about it. Yes, K.infinite helped him train, but it's because, Nana Shimura never, so far that All Might saw, never told K.infinite what his quirk really was. So K.infinite, he thought only K.infinite knew it was like a stockpiling quirk or some kind of quirk that boosts his strength 10 times full. So K.infinite's like, yeah, I know about One for All, but you need to apologize to Izuku. And All Might's like, what? And K.infinite's like, yeah, you big idiot. And All Might's kind of shocked about this. Even Deku's in shock about this because he's belittling the symbol of peace. And K.infinite's like, yeah, I know what you said to him, and I'm very, very disappointed. Never say someone can't become a hero. I know for a fact he just inspired you to do and go past your limits. I know you would probably have watched that kid die. And All Might's kind of in shock and sadness about this. And he does apologize to Izuku, but not because K.infinite told him to. He did do it, willingly himself. And Izuku's like, no, I don't need your apology. And K.infinite's like, yes, you do. You need it because I noticed lately you have not been telling me or your mom the truth. And then K.infinite's like a little bit mad about this. And Izuku's like, wait, how did you? And K.infinite's like, did you forget, Izuku? And Izuku's like, oh, right, you practically have infinite power, right? So Izuku tells K.infinite, besides, he ain't wrong. K.infinite's like, no, he is wrong. You remember what I told you? And Izuku's like, oh, yeah, right, I could become heroes in many other ways. And K.infinite is like, yeah. And All Might, next time when someone tells you that they're quirkless, remember your roots. I know for a fact you used to be quirkless. And All Might's stunned by this. So All Might's like, so do you want me to offer my quirk to him? And K.infinite's like, no. Even though he's worthy, that would be a bad idea. And Izuku's like, wait, All Might can... wait, what is All Might's quirk? And at this moment, K.infinite's like, you know what? It's better if you tell him what it is, and the reason why I say no. And Izuku hears about One for All. He knows about One for All now, but K.infinite explains why he should not inherit it now. It's not because, and this is K.infinite explaining, it's not because you you're not worthy or anything. It's because if you had my power mixed with One For All, it would boost the power so much to the point where the power would start destroying itself or start destroying you. And that's not good. And you know how I'm connected, Izuku. And Izuku's like, oh, that makes sense. That would not be good. So, yeah. But when Deku is done with that, All Might leaves. And they actually exchange numbers. Like K.infinite and All Might again, since, they didn't have it at the time. And he even gives his number to Izuku so they can talk. And K.infinite even told All Might, it's better if you talk to Izuku, and either way Izuku can help you find a symbol, another person to inherit your quirk. Same thing with me. I will help you. And All Might's happy about this, so at least now he has more people helping him trying to find who would be a good successor. So, at this point, Deku has to leave, and K.infinite waves by, and he tells Izuku to be safe. So when Izuku gets home, Inko runs up and hugs her sweet, sweet boy, because she was about to go and find him if he didn't show up. Because, he didn't come back straight away. He kind of stopped at the beach that was not that far away from their house. So when she sees him, she runs over and hugs Deku, and she's like, "Are you alright? Are you good, my son?" And stuff. But Inko looks at him with a serious face and tells Izuku, "So, do you know that person?" And Izuku's kind of in shock. He's like, "What person? What are you talking about?" And Inko's like, "Don't play dumb, child. My child. I know you've been trained by K.infinite at this point." And like Izuku's like, how did you find out?" And Inko's like, "I just found out now on the news. I saw what happened and what he said." And Deku's like, "Really? You did?" And Deku responds with this. "So, am I in trouble? Or what's gonna happen?" And Inko looks at him and says, No, my son. I have something to tell you." And what Inko tells to her son is something that blows his mind. That K.infinite's friend was his grandpa, practically. There was a friend of K.infinite's that fought during when quirks were a thing, when quirks were starting. She explained. Even pulled out a few pictures of their grandpa, and there was this one picture that Izuku saw, which was a man wearing some unique armor, just like K.infinite's, but in a different style. And Deku's like, "Mom, so Grandpa fought with him?" And Inko looks at her son and says, "Yes. It was my time to tell you this. But I gotta ask, what did he give you?" And Deku explains what has happened over the months and why he always came back so tired and much more. Inko was actually very happy for Deku because she's surprised that K.infinite wants him to do this, and even gave him a piece of his power, which would have brought a tear to their grandpa. Which, sadly, his grandpa is still alive, but he doesn't live with them he's not in the area where they live anymore. He's not in Japan anymore. He moved because of reasons. That's all I gotta say. So, Izuku is happy about this. Inko's happy about this. So we pass on the day of the entrance exam. During this is when things change. So when Izuku is going through the front, he can hear something in his head. And it's a new ability he just got. It's from K.infinite. He says, "Hey, Izuku." And Izuku turns around. He looks around, trying to see who it was. And he's like, "Don't freak out, kid. It's just me talking. Remember? Infinite power?" And Izuku's like, "Oh, yeah, kind of got confused. And Azuku, like, people look at him for a second, wondering who he's talking to, and Azuku, and he hears K.infinite say this practically: Azuku, it's better if you talk in your head than talking out loud. And Azuku's like, oh, yeah, right. Saying that in his head. So when he walks through, K.infinite's just saying, he told him that he's going to watch the exam through and also be hanging out with Deku, but, like, in his head to guide him if he needs help. He ain't going to tell him the answers, but he's going to help him any way he can. So during this, he trips, but a girl saves him with a floating quirk. A quirk that allows whoever she touches float, which is Ochako, so yeah. But he doesn't know her yet. So the girl helps him not fall, and she says that if he fell, that would have been a sign for bad luck, and you would not want to fall. So what happens is they actually, instead of Ochako running away and Deku not saying anything, since he was hanging out with K.infinite, K.infinite actually helped him more with his social skills and not to be nervous around other people. So Azuku got used to talking to people. So they actually had a good conversation. Even Ochako and him introduced themselves to each other, but their conversation's not too important to the story, because it's just them getting good as friends, like in canon, just more earlier. That's all I gotta say. So when they get into their testing room, Ida still does his thing where he's like, President Mike, you forgot, blah 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 blah, but the difference is he doesn't point out Deku, because at this point Deku has gotten used to not mumbling anymore. Like, he still mumbles, yeah, but he only mumbles if he's very excited about something. Like, a lot more. So, yeah, Ida still asks the same thing, but in this time, Deku interrupts him and says, yes, let the man talk. He didn't get the chance to explain yet. And even President Mike says thank you to Azuku, and Ida sits back down. So, the test there, Deku actually gets pretty high. He's just underneath whoever got number 1 in canon of the test. So after that, goes on to the physical part of the entrance exam. So right when it's about to start, Deku sees Ochako, and he's about to actually go over there to her and to ask her, hey, I gotta go cheer her up, like, that's what he's thinking. Even K.infinite agrees, but Ida stops him and says, oh, you shouldn't bother her because you're gonna distract her. But, like, Azuku says, no, I'm not, I'm trying to cheer her up, look at her, she looks nervous. And at this point, Ida agrees with him, and he's like, fine, go ahead, I ain't gonna stop you. And so Azuku gets the chance, they talk again, and he tells Ochako that, I believe you're gonna pass this. And Ochako thanks him and kind of scratches the back of her head in nervousness. But then that's when they go, and throughout the test, this is what happens differently than canon. So the people who got their points in canon still do, but this time Azuku, he's going all tank mode. Like, he's attacking villains, but he's only attacking them if they are about to hit somebody who's not expecting it. He's coming in and saving people. So he's getting a lot more like hero points and villain points, or whatever they were called in canon, I don't know, until the 0 pointer shows up. So right when the 0 pointer shows up, Azuku sees it, and he's about to run away until he hears a familiar voice. It's Ochako. He runs over with full strength of his power. And the reason why he didn't use it up to, the UA entrance exam, it's also because K.infinite didn't want him to. He even told him. He said, kid, don't use it yet until the entrance exam and the sports festival, because he wants him to show it off when the world can see it. So Azuku agreed to that, and also wanted to use this opportunity as a challenge for himself. So in the sport, like, he's using the whole suit. He even, like, picked up the zero pointer, not like all the way, but he picked up one of the legs of the zero pointer and flipped it on its back. When he tried to get up, Izuku went up and punched it in the face, destroying it in the face like if he was using one for all 100%. But you might be saying, isn't that going to make Deku overpowered? No, I'm just explaining this really quick. He only did it for that moment, but when he did, his body went flying and he felt very drained on one of his arms. So he's about to fall, same way in canon, but Ochako saves him at the last second, telling him, "Are you alright, Izuku?" Or Midoriya, you know? And Izuku wakes up, like, he kind of passed out halfway. He was just drained. Nothing broken, but he was just drained of energy. Until he goes home, which I'm gonna leave it off here, folks. Well, now I got some questions to ask you guys. Is Deku going to get into UA? What is Deku going to do? Like, yes, he has K.infinite's power. That means he gets more stuff, right? But also to ask you guys this. What powers do you think you want to give Deku? Since he has infinite power, that also means he can have infinite different abilities. It doesn't have to be any specific type ones that, I make up. So, it could be from you. And he will unlock them. He won't gain them at first from you guys. He will eventually unlock them and upgrade to your guys' abilities you suggest down in the comments. And also, to answer one question, just real quick, because you guys don't do this all the time, I will actually respond to your comments. You just have to look, because I will usually give it a like and a heart. There's a chance that I may, respond to what you have to say. That's all I gotta say. And peace, and thank you for watching the video. And also go check out the other videos. They should be on screen right now. That's all I gotta say, and peace.